How's it going, folks? Welcome to lesson 1 of Three.js for beginners. Now in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to set up a simple HTTP server, and then I will take you through the steps of creating a basic scene in Three.js. Without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so first we need to create a folder where we will save our file. Now as you can see here, I have a folder called live tutorial script, and it is in here that I will save my file. Okay, so now let's open up Visual Studio Code, and then we will open up a terminal. So I will say new terminal, and there we go. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up the project in the folder that you just created. So you go to File, and then you say Open Folder, and then you go to the folder that you just created, Live Tutorial Script, select Folder, and this is where your project will be set. And from now on, we can start creating our script. Okay, so now I will create an index.html file. So there we go. We've got our index.html file. So open it, and then we will create an HTML5. And then inside of the body, we will create a script. And the type of script that we will create will be a type module. Okay, so now we've got our basic file created. So the next thing that we need to do is to take the folder that we downloaded from Three.js. We need to put that in the same folder as our file. So wherever you have saved that file, just copy it and then make sure that you put it into this folder. I'm going to put it in my live tutorial script folder. And once that it's done copying, then we can continue. The reason why we have this folder is because we will be importing the modules from this folder onto our script. So now the next thing that we will do is to create a simple HTTP server. Okay, so to create an HTTP server, first we have to install it. So we install it by saying npm install, then we say global and then HTTP server, and then run it. I'm not going to run it because I have it installed already, and once it is done, then you can run your HTTP server. All you have to do is just say HTTP -server, and just like that, you have a server running. So this is the local host. So this is where your file will be running. So open up your favorite browser and then go to localhost. I already have mine because I use this quite often, but this is the address, so localhost 80. And just to prove that, we can just do a simple console.log. And when we go back, then we just check in our console and we can see hello world over here. So now we're good to continue. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to import the three module from Three.js. How we're going to do it is by doing this. We're going to say import. This just means import everything that is within the module as 3. So 3 will be the name under which everything will be accessed. So this will be represent the main object with all its properties and methods. And then we're going to get that from our Three.js master folder. Then we go into the build folder and then 3.module.js. This is where our file is saved. Okay, so then after that, we will create a renderer. So we'll say const renderer equals to 3.webgl renderer. And then inside we will use canvas. This is where everything will be rendered. And we'll set empty alias to true. Now you may be wondering what this canvas is. We have not created it, so we will go here under body. Then we will create our canvas element. So there we go. We created our canvas and we gave it an ID of canvas. So now this will use this element to render. And so next, we're going to set the size of our renderer. So we say renderer.setSize, and we're going to set it to the window's inner width and the window's inner height. So the size of the window will be how big the canvas is, or our renderer. And then here we will set the aspect ratio, and we'll say renderer.setPixelRatio, window.devicePixelRatio. So it will use the pixel ratio of whichever device we're using. In this case, it is our browser. So next on, okay, so now here we've created our camera. We say const camera equals to new 3.perspective camera. And here we've got a few settings that we've added to the camera. And this is the field of view. So we've set it to 45. And over here, this is the aspect ratio of our camera. So basically we've taken the width of our canvas and we divided by the height of our canvas. And that's our aspect ratio. Remember that our canvas is set to the width of our window. And so next is, this is near plane clipping. So this just means how close does our object need to be to the camera before it starts clipping. And then this is far clipping. So this just means how far our object needs to be from the camera before it starts clipping. So next up will be our scene object. So we say const equals to new 3.scene. This is where we will be adding all our objects, and everything that is in here is what will be rendered or what will be visible on our camera. And after that, we will create a couple of other objects. So now we will create a light. This is a point light. This is a type of light that you find in Three.js. And then we create a box geometry with the scale of 5. This is X, Y, and Z scale. And here we created a variable called cube mat. This is just means cube material. So we created a standard material and we've got the color green and we've made the emission. So this material will be emitted. The next object is a mesh. So we said cube mesh equals to new 3 mesh, and inside of the mesh we added the geometry and the material. This is how you create a mesh. And then next on, we add our objects into the scene. So we created our mesh, which we're now adding to the scene, and we're adding the light as well. And then over here, this is where we set the positioning for our camera. So we gave it these values, and camera.lookAt means that we want our camera, no matter where it is, to always be focusing on our scene. So we've given it the position of the scene as the point of focus. Okay, next we create a function called render. And inside of the function, this is where we render our scene and camera. And once we're done, then we will call it down here. Now let's go to our browser and have a look. And here we go. So this is what our cube looks like. So now after seeing our cube, just to make it livelier, we will add a bit of animation. So we will do that using the request animation frame API. So we say request animation frame, and inside we call render. So what will happen is that it just keeps calling itself over and over again. And so to see some animation, then we'll say cube dot y, and then we'll say plus equals 0.1. And there we go. So just in a nutshell, this is how we create a basic scene. So now for you to have more understanding, I will explain everything in detail in the next lesson. So that's it for this lesson. Stay tuned.